One of the top 3 college basketball players I think I've ever seen. Rookie of the year, bunch of NBA All-Star teams, 15 years. C-Web, TNT analyst. What up? What are you doing, C-Web? How are things?
Hey, everything's great, man. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
You bet. I was saying last night, the Lakers' chemistry surprises me. AD and LeBron work. Caruso works. Dion Waiters drives me nuts, but it kind of works. Why do you think LeBron and AD's chemistry is so good so fast? What? Explain that to me.
Well, you're a historian. You know the game, and you talk about it in different ways. And if you think about back to, remember in Cleveland, everybody thought I'm not talking about J.R. Smith today, but everybody thought, J.R. Smith and those guys wasn't going to help him. And myself and other people thought you needed a couple crazy guys around you because really all you want to do is manage. You just want to manage the personality. But you want guys to get a tech when you can't. He's the ambassador. You want guys to foul. And so the pick and roll game, the fact that they've been courting each other, LeBron and AD, for a year, the fact that, if you really look at that game, LeBron was 16 points. I mean, AD really held them, and LeBron could do his thing at the end, especially on the defensive end. So one, I think, is because you have 2 top 5 players in this league. And then 2, when you have guys, everybody sleeps on what Shaq calls the others, your teammates, role players. And when you have guys like that, just think about who the Lakers have had. I mean, to the bane of my existence, whether it's Horry, Fisher, Grant, guys that come in and know their roles and they're experts at it. And I think that when you come into L.A. as a role player, you better have your focus up because more is expected of you as a role player there than any other franchise, maybe.
Are you worried, Chris, that Anthony Davis in 4 games against the Clippers has virtually disappeared in all 4 quarters? And you know this, Chris. Some guys get tight late. Some guys are talented. They don't have a lot of dog. Right. He has just dried up 4 times against the Clippers in the 4th quarter. He did last night. Concerned at all about that?
Well, first I have to full disclosure. I think the Clippers are going to win the championship. Okay. So that's who I picked. And the fact that they didn't have the number 1 scoring tandem, maybe the first teammates to get 6 man of the year together, co-6 man of the year, really got to think about that. That's at least low side 7 boards. That's at least a couple of fouls there. So what I think is that LeBron and AD are going to have to do everything to win. Everybody's going to criticize LeBron every minute of the game because he can't take any plays off, and the same with AD. And when you really think about it, when you have Harold in and you have one more big body and it's not Noah, a guy trying to get in shape for the season, and then you cause problems on the pick and roll on the other end. So that's what Noah didn't do. He wasn't, causing any problems on the other end defensively. And when you have those 2 guys, it's going to be tough. So Caruso, those guys are playing great, but I don't see how they're going to keep that up. A lot of that's going to be on Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee defensively, because if not, I don't know how they're going to be able to keep pace.
So Zion's on a minute restriction thing, and I was like, man, it feels like a helicopter parent. It's not like he's coming off Tommy John or concussion protocol. I mean, even in college, after he got hurt, he came back and played 37 minutes in 3 straight games and won the MVP in the ACC tournament. What do you make of the minute restrictions on Zion?
I agree with the expert on the show. I agree with Joy what she said earlier because it feels kind of weird to me. And I had some players, I had some ex-players call me, and don't get me wrong, ex-players call all the time for different reasons, to vent, to relive, just because they're ticked off. But more than a few called me last night, and 2 of the main topics were, you guys are letting him off the hook. If this was anyone else that wasn't so-called in shape. And then the next one was, if I'm a player, come hell or high water, I'm a player, especially in the last minutes when all we're playing for, is a playoff spot.
Right.
So those are the kind of 2 things that I kept, defending, because I'm like, he must be hurt. Because in my point of view, it's no way, like you talked about dogs earlier, the ones like AI, the ones that play and get criticized for going 3 for 25, they're the only ones that'll do it. Curry's the only one that'll go 3 for 25 because he thinks he's going to make the next one. So you need those personalities, and I think it must be something serious because, like you're saying, it's a helicopter parent, but they want to make the playoffs. I mean, it seems like that's why we have this good, tight race right now, is to see if the Pelicans can make it. So In my heart, I know he wants to play, but I don't understand that.
So I have this theory. I told Joy and Rick Bucher, and Bucher thinks I'm nuts, but I said the NBA travel is a schloid. I mean, baseball, you go into a city for 4 days, NFL, 8 road games, NBA's winter, cold, turbulence, late night, van to the hotel. And now we don't have that. I thought the energy last night from the players was unbelievable. So everybody's going to tell me they're not going to be very good, they're going to be rusty. I don't know, Chris. If you would have never had to travel, only play home games in the NBA, I wonder if some of these guys, some of these old guys are like, they're going to like the bubble. That they're going to not be like, I don't have to be in vans and road trips. And I mean, your take on the bubble experience.
Yeah, and at least for next year, well, to tell the truth, we were always, when I played, was a little jealous of the baseball schedule. Because the baseball schedule, you're in town for a week. Now, it's no way you really can do that in basketball, but we just meant the way that you could move about. And so you're right. That's why I do think LeBron, with his experience, how great he plays, all the things you can talk about LeBron, has an advantage. And so I wouldn't be surprised, even though I didn't pick him, if they won, because there is no travel. And everybody out there, you know this. I mean, to travel and come back and do a show, and travel takes more out of you than a tough practice a lot of times, especially after a loss, especially when, think about if you have any injuries. And so if your leg is swollen, if you go on the plane, that's more pain. That's an ice machine. Just the inconvenience of it, getting into a hotel room, unpacking, ordering your food at 2 a.m. So I do think the bubble is better for wild personalities, better for the introvert, better for guys that really want to win, better for guys that don't want to be there, because if you're not focused now, when are you going to be?
So I got to ask you a Giannis question, and I've said this. Giannis is great. But if Chris Middleton, who I think is a good player being paid great money, I have no bitterness. I hope you guys all make a fortune. But if Middleton struggles like he did last year against Toronto, and Giannis can't get to the finals, and you know how the media is, like, come on, man, where's hardware? You're just sitting there in Milwaukee. It's not even a free agent market. Do you think there's a possibility that that Chris Middleton holds the key for Giannis and his free agency going forward?
I think that's a great point, but I would like to say Chris Middleton could be the key, but it's the GM's fault if they let that happen and don't stay there, and don't make a move. So I agree. That's why, as great as LeBron has done, I feel that Giannis is the MVP with the best record, maybe Defensive Player of the Year. AD's the leading scorer on the Lakers. And so look at what he's done without, and I don't consider Middleton, in my opinion, a true number 2. I just don't. And that's not his fault. He could be a great number 3 somewhere, but he's not a number 2.
I agree.
And I think that Bud does a great job coaching. Their system and their team is one of the deepest, and I think that's why them and Denver should have an advantage. But yeah, I mean, I would, if Giannis would call me, I would just say, you're going to want to play today. You have to play with the best teammates you can, because at the end of the day, they're going to look back. They're not going to care that it was a super team over here. They aren't going to care that a guy traded a player to his best friend, or they used to be teammates and they won. They're not going to care about that. They're going to care that you win one. And so it's really about, does he trust the ownership and GM to make that happen? Because from my experience, not in Sacramento, but from my experience, the frustration with small market teams, the players there, is that those teams don't have enough balls to go get someone else big, and that's the only reason why you stay small in a lot of players' eyes. That's why OKC wasn't a small market, even though it was. They didn't play like that when they drafted those great players. So I would be worried about that if I was ownership. You got to make a point. You can't act cool. You can't say, oh, we don't discuss it with our players. Not when people are discussing with LeBron or asking Kawhi who you want to play with. You see what the Clippers did?
Yeah.
So, no, I agree 100%. But it wouldn't be on Middleton. It would be on his play. But it would be on management, because they're the ones that are in total control of who stays and goes.
Good stuff, Chris Webber, today. What are you doing today? You just kind of hanging, waiting for games?
Waiting for the playoffs. I was just watching the old game the other night. I'm trying to grow a beard since my beard never connects. I'm looking crazy and just working out, man. Trying to stay busy in the meantime. Trying to keep a good schedule so I don't go crazy or lose anything.
NBA on TNT, our friend Chris Webber. I love talking to you, man. Thanks for coming by.
Hey, same here. Thanks for having me.